Welcome back into another Bear Down segment. That's part of the Coach Steve show, where we talk about the Chicago Bears. That means Zach is here. That means there's something to talk about with the Chicago Bears. Zach, how are you doing? Welcome back.
Life's peachy. I'm doing real good. Uh, I'm just like you. I'm along for whatever is ahead in the off season. Now I get to do a little debates on possible certainties or uncertainties with who we're playing this year. You know, but I'm with you, man. I'm great. I'm along for the ride. That's all I can put anymore. I'm
Yeah,
along for the ride.
yeah. We got the schedule release. Um, you and I kind of, I'm glad it waited because it could simmer because people very overreacted to the schedule and what was going to happen. And like OTAs just started for the Bears, and so all that's
That
been
too.
coming out, and you're hearing good things about the wide receivers. You're hearing good things about Justin Fields and the running backs, and even the defense. You talk about how great the linebacking core is looking, actually. So I was kind of glad to wait to think about the schedule, but hearing the OTAs and being all positive, um, it's good for just OTAs. It's not a big deal, but to hear that from a young group that they have coming in is fantastic as a Bears fan.
Hmm. I like the talk surrounding Chase Claypool the most.
Yes,
And
yes,
in terms of, oh, he's picking it up. He's looking real crisp. He looks way better than he did at the end of the year already. He's not confused like he was last season. Cool. I mean, that's what I want to hear. You know, but you know me, Steve. Talk's cheap. I need to see
uh-huh.
I need to see performance. Now, credit that is good, and we knew coming in the off season, it's a contract year. He didn't know the playbook last year, and Luke Getzey didn't cut him any slack, so that's great. Also, linebacking core. I mean, hey, I want to hear defensive progress on no matter what. You spend
Yeah,
money on my linebackers and on that front line, on a little bit on that front line at two. Yeah, you're damn right. I want to hear they're gelling good right now
yes,
in the early
yeah,
going. I need to hear that. Also been hearing like you and I have been hearing too. Justin Fields' progress is looking good. He's looking sharper. Hey, great! I love it. I heard that last year, but I'm hearing it more and more earlier in the year. So that's
yes.
great. This is all
I
the
was
stuff I want to hear.
I was about to say that to you. Like, yeah, I was being positive about it, but yeah, I love hearing it. But
That's why I. That's why I instantly came out with the talk is cheap thing because
yep,
every team does the spin this time of
uh-huh,
year. I
yep,
mean, I love hearing about Chase Claypool. I buy that. I buy that he's getting it down better this year
yes,
because he has more time. But like, talk is indeed definitely cheap until I
yes,
see progress. Until I see
yes.
week one when they step on the field to play Green Bay. Although, I mean, Green Bay anymore. Talk about spin doctors out in Wisconsin. Am I right?
Oh, what a fall from grace that
Jordan
would.
Love is the savior. He's going to be a third straight Hall of Fame quarterback to go over to Green Bay. I call BS until I see it happen. Please don't happen, though.
Is he going to own Chicago? Is he going to turn and say "I own you" to the crowd as he does something? Is that what's going to happen? That
I
jackass
own you.
towards us.
I I own you. I am the landlord of Soldier Field, and I will also own the deed on the new Arlington Heights facility.
I
Really,
swear to
that's
God,
what Rogers should have said if you wanted to get into under Bears fans' skin because of the whole we rent from the city. Just go,
yeah,
I am the landlord.
he he should have. I swear to. I.
Rent's due. I've come
That's
to
what he
get
should have
this
said.
collect
Brent,
payment.
dude. That's what he should have done. Right in the end zone and just
I've
go
come
like,
I've come to collect. I am the tax man. And
"I've come to collect. Where's some money?" And go look around the stadium. I
win
swear, if
bonus
Jordan
inbound.
Love, if Jordan Love becomes a Hall of Fame quarterback, which I don't see,
I
I
don't
swear on
either,
everything,
but we'll find out week one, won't we?
we most certainly will. Um, Before we look at the schedule, there is a new wide receiver out there as a free agent.
He is. I want to hear you on this one though, because D Hop to Chicago. What do you think? I mean, we did just upgrade
if
at the
if we
position.
didn't if we didn't just get DJ Moore, I might have sat there and said, okay, Bears, go get him. But now that we have, I think, a decent wide receiver group, I don't think the Bears should get him because he's got some miles on him. I'm not saying he's a troublemaker, but I mean there's a reason why he is gone now. And I just don't think that the Bears need to deal with that right now. They want to build things up. If you bring him in, now you're trying to spread the ball around between DJ Moore, him, Chase Claypool, Mooney, and Cole Kmet. Like now you're trying to spread this wealth around, which is going to be tough on a Justin Fields that everybody is hoping takes a next step forward. So I don't think they really need to go get him. Now, if we didn't have a Chase Claypool, if we didn't have DJ Moore, I'd be like, yeah, you got to go get this guy. But
Yes.
I also think he doesn't want to go to the Bears. I know people talk about it. I think he wants to go somewhere to win right now.
It kind of feels that way because I think, what was it, today I'd seen hints like for some reason the Jets, and then like I think New England's been brought up.
Yes.
Now this one would be a killer for you and I, but I actually could see it. Is there have been folks saying, Detroit would be a pretty good fit for him, and I'm like, well, yeah, he kind of would be a good fit. He actually be a great fit, and they have cap space currently to accommodate if they wanted to. Chicago, I'm with you. If they hadn't gone for DJ Moore, I'd be like a full bore, yeah, pick him up. And then next draft you pick up the young guy who's the transitional next receiver one that you then move on to it once the deal's done with Hopkins and his last decent contract that he's going to get.
Right.
And this time now you're like it's too fulfilled, because that's the thing. Who do you axe to give him targets? Because you can do it to Mooney, but that's going to suck because that he has great chemistry with Justin Fields, it seems, right now. So yeah, I don't like that idea. You can do it to Claypool, but then you're going to get all the folks going, ha, wasted draft pick. Because if you bench Claypool, that means you spend a second rounder on a bench player. That's horrible optics for a front office. If you say, yeah, he's not playing now, or he's receiver 5.
Yes.
When he's obviously should be like a receiver 2 or 3 minimum. He has to be a 3 minimum out there.
Yes.
Yes. Or at least the 2, and then you put Mooney in the slot. Whatever you're going to do, he has to be out there in the main roster, playing out there on Sunday. So, it doesn't make sense now. But if D-Hop goes to Detroit, I think Detroit, as much as I would hate to see it for the division and for our sake of a team that's getting better in our end, Detroit should be, if they're saying, they'll give him a call. You're like, hey, we got St. Brown on the other side. If they have to guard St. Brown, you're wide open. And Jared's been getting better. You saw what he did last year. He'll throw to you. We got a good line to protect him.
And
give him 2 good receivers and a good running back.
You're welcome.
Detroit. Yeah, you're welcome. Although it sounds like he's dealing with injuries in OTAs right now. So, okay. I call it karma for dissing on Chicago, by the way. Do you see what he was talking about with it's been not so fun? It was like, well, yeah, no, it's not been fun, but come on, man.
But then you chose Detroit. Like, no offense to Detroit, I love what
that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of us are optimistic they're going to take another step. I have them right now as my favorite to win the division, but they still have to prove it. It's still Detroit. Right. This is the Lions we're talking about here.
Yeah, because I love Detroit, but I saw that. I was like, but wait, you picked Detroit? It's not like you went to Minnesota where they've been winning games. Like, you're picking Detroit, who will probably win a lot of games this year if everything clicks. But like, don't say that. That's karma right there. You never say that.
I know. He talks. Look, if I bet he's healthy by. I don't think it's something that's like end of year injury thing, but he'll be healthy by week 1. But I was like, that's total karma for running your mouth a little bit. I love you, Monty, but come on, man, let's chill out here. You just got a decent contract with Detroit. Go play your ball and go have revenge against us, if you please. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah. But I think if D-Hop was smart, I think if he goes to the Jets, that's another one where I'm like, where the hell is he getting his targets from? Because, like, for example, I was watching the Craig Carton show today, the on FS1, and they're talking. And Craig is a diehard Jets fan. Like, he's been gushing over Aaron Rodgers, and he's like, "Oh yeah, we can do D Hop," and all the guys on his panel are like, "Who's losing targets, Craig?
Mhm.
You know, is it Corey
Yep.
Davis? Is it Alan Lazard? Are you really going to bring Alan Lazard over from Green Bay and just say, you know what? Sorry, pal, no targets for you.
No,
Is it
no soup
McCole
for you.
Hardman? No soup for
Yeah.
you. So that's the deal. I think you got to find someone that, it's a legitimate, he gets a second option and he is the de facto second option. I think Detroit makes the most sense, or New England. But
Uh-huh.
I think if you're going to New England, you're sacrificing good QB play, unless you believe in Bill O'Brien to change the gears around in a season, which is possible. But I think the more proven alley is to go to Detroit.
Yeah, I think so. I think he'll end up in Detroit. That wasn't on my beginners list for him. I was thinking, I was thinking Jets. I was thinking Patriots. I know people throw Kansas City out there, but I just don't.
And he
That'd be
could,
too
but
hard.
he's not going to be like, I don't see him being de facto one because their system at this point is usually Travis Kelsey or you're a role player. You're a
Mhm.
you fit the need. You are not the needed.
Right.
Detroit, you can at least make a case for like, well, you still get your numbers, but you also fit the need we need, which is a de facto number two. Plus, Jameson Wilson Jameson Williams is going to be possibly out for what, 5 weeks for
Mhm.
gambling violations that he quote unquote didn't know about.
Yep.
So wouldn't be a bad option to have a number two that you can start the season and be like, all right, we don't have to rely on St. Brown again. We can at least throw to someone else
Mhm.
instead.
I even thought about Buffalo, but again, you'd be taking touches away from somebody. But I even threw out Buffalo just in a conversation. So I think it could be Detroit, Buffalo, or New England. I think that's kind of where he's going to float around a little bit. But you're right. If you're looking
Yeah.
at who has better potential, you're looking at Detroit, and that's probably where it's going to happen.
I mean, it's setting up for him right now. Minnesota. I mean, that's our division right now. Like, there's so much uncertainty with Green Bay. Chicago has a lot of the praise of potential, but you have a lot of folks that still doubt that they can capitalize on it to like be a plus 10 winning team. I still hear like people, they're like, well, 8 or 9, and that's what we've been saying too. But they're still doubting that. Detroit, there's folks doubting, but it's the most concrete given that their roster didn't turn over. It's the same one that ended the season basically one better playoff, one game, one basically if they don't lose to Carolina and they just win out, they're in. That's what's
Mhm.
crazy. They're
Yep.
one bad Carolina loss away from have made a playoff berth off of that horrible streak at the beginning of the year. So
Yep.
that's where we're at. And D Hop would help that immensely, which is
He
scary.
would.
I would
He
not want to
would.
face that.
No. No. I would not. Um, All right, let's move on to our Bears schedule. I broke it down to 3 sections. You take first 6 weeks, next 6 weeks, the next five. That's the easiest way
Oh,
for me to
goody.
look at it because coaches look at it to break down. If you can survive this part of the schedule, survive this part, then survive this part, this is kind of where your season's going to end. So we'll start. I don't like that one. I like this one. There we go.
Yeah, whichever you prefer. I can look at it either way. Your audio audience is like, what the hell is he talking about? And we're just like, it's okay. It's video we got on here. Fancy clips that
Yeah.
Steve's put together.
Yes, I did. It's called screenshotting and sharing the screen. It's
Wow.
the hardest thing I've
Magic.
ever done. So the first 6 weeks, we open up with the Green Bay Packers, which we've talked about. Week 2, new look Tampa Bay Buccaneers without Tom Brady. Your Super Bowl winning Kansas City Chiefs at Kansas City. That'll be tough.
Oy
The
vey.
new look Sean Payton Denver Broncos, who I think Sean Payton will turn that around very quickly. At the Washington Commanders, that's okay. And then versus Minnesota. That's the first 6 weeks of the Bears schedule. Is there anything here for you that kind of pops out for the start of the young thundering Bear Cubs that they have to run out to?
Uh, I mean, hey, we'll certainly learn by week 3 what kind of Bears team we've got because we got to take on the world champions that really are basically the same as they were last year. Uh, Look, I think the intriguing matchup. Everyone wants to see what Green Bay's like, and I think everyone wants to see what Chicago's like because you know it's a it's a Packers squad without Rodgers. They get to play in Chicago on a late afternoon Fox game that I'm hoping is the national. That I'm trying to remember if it's a national game or not for game of the week. I don't think it is, but you know, it's a fun contest, and I think a lot of people are going to be tuning in for the intrigue of it. If I'm looking at like strength of schedule overall, again, Green Bay's the wild card. I have no idea what we're going to get.
Mhm.
And so it's a toss up to me until I see something because like there are guys on there that are talented, but it comes down to Jordan Love in my opinion, as well as how advanced the Bears' offense has been year over year with these new pieces. Tampa Bay. I mean, I think that's a winnable game. Got to be honest with you, unless
Yep.
Baker Mayfield is the perfect match to go to the Bucks, or Kyle Trask is finally after 2 years development, he comes in and he goes, you know what? I was born ready. Like does a
Mhm.
Patrick Mahomes on us all, and we're going, son of, throwing
Yeah.
our hands up at it.
Which
Denver, crapshoot. And it comes down to Sean Payton. I actually have faith that Sean Payton will turn that Denver squad around. There's so much talent on that Broncos squad that
yes.
I really do believe. Some people are thinking that people are crazy for this because they think that Russell Wilson's over the hill. I believe it personally was Nathaniel Hackett. I think Sean Payton turns this around, and they're potent. Maybe not playoff worthy, but they're going to be better than last year to where they're going to be like fighting for a wild card. So not an
Yeah.
easy out there. Commanders defense is still the bread and butter. I mean, I still have questions about some of their other elements, but by this point we'll know what Chicago roster we have under our wing. Which I mean, say we're at this point and we get to 3-1. Oh yeah, I think we can beat Washington, and I think we beat Minnesota possibly, but that really depends how much of a backslide Minnesota takes this year. I still think that they're very much in the conversation for the division. I know a lot of people look at them negatively, but I mean, they are kind of the better standard right now in the NFC North in terms of like guaranteed talents on that side.
Right.
So, it really depends. Like if that Bears offense comes out swinging, then who knows? Maybe we end up. I mean, I'm ballsy, but 5-1, 4-2, up the upper echelon of this. So, you know,
Yeah. Yeah. Um, not much to change. Everybody's going to circle that Green Bay. I know it's not the. It might be game of the week if it's at 325 or one of them. Who knows? But that's going to be the one circle just because is Green Bay going to be a shell of their former selves without Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love? What's the offense going to look like? I know their defense is supposed to be better than what it was last year, but we'll see. But second year in an offense there for the Bears. What are we going to look like? You would think that they could win at Tampa, of course. Kansas City, that's going to be that'll give them everything they want.
oh, of
The
course.
Denver, the Denver game, it's not going to come down to Sean Payton. It's going to come down to Russell Wilson. I think by that point, if Russell Wilson is still playing the way he played last year, Sean Payton will make a move. I don't think he really cares what they're paying him. Sean Payton will make some type of move. So the Denver game is a toss up just because of that. I think they can beat Washington because we were so close last year as a defense. The defense did its job. It was just the offense just could do nothing. And then we'll really know what the Bears are made of in week 6 because Minnesota, I mean, they played better than even Green Bay Packers. Like if you looked at it overall, they were playing better. They have great numbers. We were so close to beating them last year. We had a couple special teams errors there that could have, flipped that one. But I think week 6 will really, really know what the Bears team is going to look like. By that week, we should already know the steps Justin Fields is taking, the offensive line meshing together, and what the wide receivers look like. And if we are getting pressure on the quarterback, we will know going against Tampa Bay's offensive line, Washington's offensive line for sure, what kind of defensive line we're going to have, in my opinion, those first 6 weeks, and what will build from there as we continue on in the schedule, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
you're not wrong. I don't think you're wrong at all for that. I think for the Bears, like I said, this first quarter schedule has a lot of like the more question mark teams. That's what's got me I'm optimistic. I call it cautiously optimistic because, like I said, I mean, if Green Bay really if Jordan Love is not the guy, which I don't think he is, I think that Chicago, with last year how they were playing Green Bay close with Rodgers distracted, quote unquote, if you will, I'll put it that way. I think this is winnable. It's still
Hmm.
Green Bay. I think it's winnable. Tampa Bay, it really does come down to if Baker Mayfield is the guy. If that end of season Rams Baker comes out and that O line, like you're talking about, protects him like all wild, and then we have to deal with putting up with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin terrorizing the secondary. But that comes down to the QB.
Hmm.
Defensively, they're going to be harassing Chicago, but can they take advantage of opportunities? Kansas City's Kansas City. I don't expect to win that game at all. That is the cream of the crop of the league. It's going to be a litmus test. Screw it. Why not? But there's no way you're going to sell me on the Bears upsetting the Kansas City Chiefs unless it's somehow like the Colts game last year where like once in a full moon, Andy Reid and, you know, Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes decide to have a bit of a gray matter area in their brain, just kind of go, nope, this ain't working today. Sorry.
Hmm.
And then they just completely slip, which it could happen. I don't bank on it happening, you know. So a lot of question marks. This first six, total question mark teams. It
Yep.
really is. Like even Minnesota, because people are putting them down. I'm still like, yeah, but this is Kirk Cousins still can put up yards on us. There's talk about Dalvin Cook and Cup, but they still have Alexander Madison on the other side who runs like a Cook and is cheaper than a Cook.
Hmm.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot of question marks this
A lot of
first
question
6 weeks.
marks.
Yeah, it's going to be tough, and then it does not get easier as we get later on into the schedule. But it's a tough schedule at the first week six. Not as tough as others, but it's pretty tough there. So we'll go to the next part. If I click on the right one, the next part of their schedule, when they go into week seven, they get the Las Vegas Raiders at home. Then they go out and play the Los Angeles Chargers. Then they have to go to New Orleans, play a new look New Orleans Saints with a new head coach. Then they got to play Carolina with their new quarterback. Then they go to Detroit, and we'll see if they have Hopkins there or not. Then they have to go play Minnesota. Then they get their bye week into week 13. All the way to week 13, they get a bye week.
It's a late one, man.
Yes, it is.
I think that'll be detrimental only if Justin Fields has to play a similar style as he did last year.
Uh-huh.
That'll be brutal for 13 weeks if you have to take a pound, or 12 weeks if you got to take a pounding like that.
Yes.
Which this year is supposed to be the year that we aren't supposed to see as much of that. As even Lamar Jackson said, want to air out the ball. Justin Fields hasn't said that, but damn well they want to try and air the ball out more this year.
Oh yeah,
You know,
they the Bears cannot survive Justin Fields running like he did. We saw the Falcons game last year where he started to limp and then he was out for a game not shortly after that. The thighs cannot take that type of hits, number one, if he holds onto the ball too long. Number two, if you look at the first 6 weeks, now look at this. Like you have to go play a hard hitting, no matter what Vegas, Raiders team or the Oakland Raiders, they always hit hard, in my opinion. They have always been that type of team. But then you end into the bye week going to Detroit, who at that point, I don't know Detroit's schedule and I'm not going to go through it. They could be hot at that point. And if they're hot and Justin Fields has to make some plays or whoever, that's tough. Then you got to end it with Minnesota again. You just played them week 6. Now, 6 weeks later, you got to go to their house and play again before you get to this bye week.
yeah.
And then Carolina's new look too. New coach there. You got a new quarterback. Like, there's some big question marks there for this week, but it's still a tough thing to get to week 13 for your bye week. Even though we're a young team, and if we can air the ball out and be protected and do things, we'll be fine. But if we start getting injured and people start getting thrown in, it's going to be tough.
I mean, you can still lean. So Chicago can at least lean on the run game still. I'll give
They
it
can.
that. They did at least. As much as I was annoyed they didn't get Montgomery back, they did. Foreman is still very capable. Howard's still capable. I don't know if I don't really have faith in either of them as blockers like I did with Monty, but I digress. But I mean, this is the stretch of schedule where you're definitely hitting competition. We're like, okay, we will know what they are, I think, by that part of the year, but B, that's a bit more of the buzzsaw because Las Vegas, yeah, sure, you can talk about the Jimmy G physical thing, which that is kind of, it's almost kind of funny. It's almost funnily bad that we're at this point where it's like, well, now I'm having surgery. Oh yeah, my physical, I didn't pass it, and if I don't pass it by the beginning of the year, I could lose my contract. So there's that discussion.
Oh, Jimmy G.
Which I mean, hey, you know what? Screw it. That's to me is winnable if you, depending on how that is looked at. It's also the Raiders with Josh McDaniels. I don't like Josh McDaniels as a head coach. He shouldn't have gotten the job. I think this is a year that he proves he's going to get fired because he didn't deserve the job anyway. Because Rick Bisaccia should have had the job in Las Vegas. Whatever,
Yes.
Mark Davis.
He did
Whatever,
such a good
Mark.
job. He did such a good job.
I don't get it. Players get behind you. You write all these letters after that hard loss on a wild card game, and you don't get the job. Sorry. And then you pick up Josh McDaniels, who was one of the most hard ass coaches in Denver that lost his own quarterback from a trade because he pushed him out. And look, Derek Carr, same deal. It's the same story playing over again. Which, by the way, after that Los Angeles game, which to me will also be one that I'm like, we'll know who the Bears are, and I don't know. I'm not trusting this one right now as a win. I'm not trusting that Saints game as a win either because I've got New Orleans. A lot of people aren't talking about New Orleans enough. I like New Orleans. I like what they got over there right now. Derek Carr, with that setup, if Michael Thomas comes back, the way he's talking about where he's like, oh, I'm coming back with vengeance this year. Then you've got Chris Olave over there and a few other options. You know, you still got Alvin Kamara, who is in this prime right now. The defense one's still top 10 in the NFL. I like New Orleans. That's going to be a hard out. I don't trust that game right now. And they still have a good offensive line. I don't trust that game. Carolina, a little bit better. Kind of depends on Bryce Young, honestly, because their defense is pretty scrappy. Not going to lie. Panthers, they leaned on very opportunistic defense last year and grit. So that'll be kind of what's there. So we'll find out soon, but I'm not trusting that one, or I'm on the fence about it. Detroit, I'm high on Detroit. That's going to be to me, that's the de facto team that I think is right now and has the best opportunity to win the North. And honestly, has had the Bears number last few years. Mm-hmm. I think you got to come in and play hard, but they're going to be hard out because goddamn Dan Campbell and company have put together a really good roster to me.
Yes, they have.
So I think it's a tough game. It can be winnable. Any division game's winnable, but it's not as cutthroat as recent years. Same with Minnesota. Again, people are undervaluing Minnesota. I don't think you should be undervaluing Minnesota, my guy. This is still plenty of talents there that they're going to make it hard. It's a young defense that's had some holes, but I ain't touching it. You know, I don't think you should be saying, sorry, it's a down and out 8 and 9 group. You sure? You sure about that? Because I don't think that's the case. I think that when it comes to division rivals right now, Detroit and Minnesota will be the ones that will be the biggest pests or ones that you are going to lose at least one game this year too. Sorry, it'll happen.
Minnesota is going to be that 10 to 12 win team, or they're going to be that 6 to 9 win. Like that's just who they are. That's always who they are. And because when they're hot, they are hot. Their offense looked great last year. I have to think that rolls over this year. I see 2 wins for sure that you could sit there and say if Vegas has fallen apart because whatever happens with their quarterback, whatever happens with the play caller, you could look at that as a win. Carolina, you could look at that as a win. The Chargers, they're pretty good. You can't guarantee that one, especially when you're going to their place. Like you said, New Orleans is that trap game where are you getting the hot Derek Carr? Is he healthy? Are all their playmakers healthy? I think they split with Minnesota. I don't think I can see the Bears beating them twice, but I just feel like they're going to split it. I just don't know where it's going to be. Is it?
I think they split this year.
Home? Yeah, I think it has to be split. And then Detroit at Detroit, especially if Detroit's hot. If they got the mojo going at that point, that'll be a tough go for them. I don't know, Vern. I don't know.
Now, credit, they do get to have after that Panthers contest, they do get to have a 10-game or a 10-day off period to prep. So
that's true.
Is a little more time. I mean, I haven't looked at Eberflus yet as a like I get an extra few days and I'm going to kick ass type of coach yet. But I mean, we'll find out this year. I mean, shoot, like Luke Getzey, like we'll know this year for sure about like his offense because last year we knew he was playing it safe. This season, it's all about better stretch the field, better start pushing a little more. And I'm not talking about like here's the thing. I'm going to say this real quick. I'm not talking about the Bears folks that put up like look at these deep bombs, like we can't stretch the field, Justin can't throw. There's a difference between having it where you're going to put together some cherry-picked highlights of throwing long bombs and being like you can't. There's a difference, people. You can't just say, well, he's throwing the long bombs. That's not just how quarterbacks do it, my guy. You can't just say, well, it's a good quarterback because he threw a 60-yarder. Because you know what? The 60-yarder is not always available. So that's the deal. We're not talking about just the deep bombs because we know we can hit those.
Marcus Russell could do that. Hey, look what happened.
I'm just saying. So we're going to find out real quick.
I hate those clips where they type it, capital letter, lowercase letter, capital, lowercase letter. I thought Justin Fields couldn't throw. If you're in the NFL, you could throw 60 to 70 yards. And it's going to hit sometimes. But I've also seen every quarterback overthrow those 60-yard bombs. So, thank you for bringing that.
It's tied in because obviously a lot of this is offensive production that we're basing on. Because I think defensively, as much as we critiqued, like, they don't have sacks or getting pressures, like, they were doing a good job in the secondary and they upgraded their linebacking core at least to get things squared up. So they should be better. And they technically did upgrade their front four. So there is all that.
They did. They did. This is where, the first 6 weeks I said, we'll figure out what kind of defensive line we're going to have, what kind is going to look like. This next 6, they'll be tested. This is really going to talk about conditioning. This is going to talk about how good in shape they are. And it's going to show some depth before they get to that bye week.
Yeah.
The depth on every position, offense, and especially defense. Because defense, you got to rotate guys in certain situations. It's 3rd and long. Do we have the speedster to get to the quarterback? It's 3rd and 1, 4th and 1. Do we have the big bruisers? Are they going to be able to stop them from getting that? So by this next part of their schedule, we'll really know for sure. I think week 6 Minnesota, we will have a good idea, and then this will be tested. They're going to go get some good offensive lines, and they're going to go get some good receivers.
Yeah, the second stretch will certainly, like, if the Bears come out and their offense is like full 8-cylinder motor, like we've been talking about, like we can see that potential for, then yeah, the sky's kind of more the limit, like I said, with some of these games. I do think I will be honest with you, this may sound crazy. I actually think that at this time, and this is because the QB situation in Las Vegas is very fluid at the moment. I believe the easiest game in this stretch right here is actually against Las Vegas, because I think Carolina defensively is there, or it is very close to being fully there. It comes down to Bryce Young. They did, of course, lose DJ Moore, but I don't know, man. Like I said, if you have good defense, I can trust that. I don't trust Vegas's defense.
No.
I don't think they did enough to do anything on that side. And unless Jimmy G is fully healthy.
If Jimmy G's healthy and Devontae Adams and him are clicking, and maybe Josh McDaniels has a come into Jesus moment where he has figured it out and gone full Bill Belichick somehow, maybe. But again, he's a better offensive coordinator. Let's just say that. If he was just an offensive coordinator, that's where Josh McDaniels belongs, in my opinion. We've already seen it.
Oh, there you go. This isn't the reality we live in, though. I think, like, for example, I think New Orleans wins the South this year in the NFC. And I think there's valid points to that. I don't trust Atlanta. I don't trust Carolina to be fully there to win a division. New Orleans is the most veteran talent. And the Tampa Bay Bucks, unless QB situation comes out and they said, they did a great job getting that set up, I think the Saints will win it. And that's why I'm like, I don't trust the Saints game. I don't trust the Chargers game whatsoever because they're the Chargers. Even though they do blow games like this, I think that they will come out and play better this year. I don't trust any of those NFC North games that are Detroit or Minnesota. So, not sure. I think worst case scenario, you could walk out of that stretch 1-5.
Yeah.
And that would be like the disaster scenario where you lose 5 straight. after
Yeah.
you win against Las Vegas.
And speaking of the division, right after their bye week, they get Detroit again. So you play
Hello.
Detroit November 19th, and then December 10th, after your bye week, you turn right back around and you host Detroit in your week 14. Then you got to go to Cleveland. Then you get home Arizona, home Atlanta, and then end it out with the Green Bay Packers. And that's how we end our
Hmm.
season.
Okay.
Talk about a stretch here: Carolina, Detroit, Minnesota. You get a bye week, and then Detroit again.
All right. So let me ask you this because we kind of talked about it. What is your probability that Chicago gets swept by Detroit?
I think it's more probable to get swept by Detroit than Minnesota, and that's why I think
Okay.
they split Minnesota. But I think
Okay.
it's
So we
higher to
see
get.
split Minnesota.
Yeah,
All right. Do you think that Green Bay is worth a damn by the end of the season?
it all comes down to quarterback play and their head
I know.
coach.
I know.
It comes
I'm
down to
throwing
that.
you what we just talked about a little, but like
But
that's what we're living in.
I have a feeling they won't be worth anything. I there's more probability of the Bears sweeping the Green Bay Packers this year than ever before, in my opinion. And I'm
In
not
recent
just
history, yes.
yes in recent history because I'm not a Justin Fields person. That's well documented. But just what's happening in Green Bay now, their defense I think is going to be better than what people think. They have some playmakers there. They still have their coaches. Like it's still going to be okay.
Well, that's the thing. They still, I mean, you're talking QB point. I mean, Christian Watkins came on at the end of last season. He was I would say he was battered by their fandom like
Hmm.
midway through the year, and then the second half of the year he just went on a tear. So
Hmm.
like I think he is their guy, no doubt. But then I look around and then you're leaning on besides him, it's Aaron Jones. That's it, and then it comes down to availability of Aaron Jones
Yeah,
as well.
I think they're going to look different on offense. They're, what we saw with the Green Bay Packers that last year. What was something we saw a lot more of last year? We saw a lot more of the run game with I formation and stuff to get that going. We really saw that more than ever
Yes.
before, and I think that's what's going to continue when you have a quote unquote inexperienced quarterback from a starting standpoint. But history repeats itself. We saw Brett Favre go to the Jets, and then Aaron Rodgers comes in, and they don't miss a beat. Now we see Aaron Rodgers go to the Jets. Is he going to miss a beat? Is he going to? But I just don't see. I don't see this guy being an Aaron Rodgers. I don't see him being a Brett Favre. I think the whole Packer season is going to be predicated towards the run game. So the only way that the Bears cannot sweep them is if they turn the ball over on offense, and if the defense just can't stop the run this year and get pressure. But Green Bay could be beat up at that point. So to end the year out, I think they won't be worth anything. But in this stretch, I see 3 wins in a row. People are very high on Cleveland, but could see them beating Cleveland. Arizona is in a disarray with their
Yeah,
quarterback situation. And then Atlanta hasn't been worth anything.
I mean, I got this one a little more jumbled up because I mean, I do think that there is a good possibility that Detroit can sweep them. I'm just going to lay it out there. Um, I think it's a more. I think it is a. I'm high faith on Detroit. That is weird to say, but like I
Mhm.
actually have I have good thoughts that they will make that next step this season. So I do think there's a good way that Detroit sweeps. I'm with you on Cleveland. I mean, it can kind of go either way. What Deshaun Watson do we get? I mean, this will be the first year where he's getting a full off season where you're not going, oh yeah, he's suspended for being an idiot off the field, you know. So
I
now
say, do we
he's
get do
fully
we
expected to perform with guaranteed money, you know.
if he stays away from the massage tables, he'll be fine. But if he starts going back to them, we'll figure it out pretty quickly where he went. But go on. Go on.
He isn't going he I can't crack that joke. Anyway, look, it does come down to Watson. They do. I mean, clearly they have the talent if they wanted to. You know, they still have Nick Chubb. They still have, of course, or sorry, yeah, they still have Nick Chubb. They still have Amari Cooper in their receiving core. Defense has been solid, not greatest, but it's been a solid unit for years. It really comes down to Watson's play. We'll know by then. I'm not bullish. I think they'll be middle of the road. I think Chicago can win that one though. Arizona, I
Hmm.
definitely think they can win that. Like you're saying, that's a dumpster fire organization right now that as a cube that has its own QB issues and team issues at the moment. Atlanta's not there. They're on the right path, but I don't know if Desmond Ritter's ready to take that next elevation. So
Right.
pass. And then Green Bay. I mean, best case they could finish on a 4-1 stretch. And say you do like the 4-2, like my scenario, you do 4-2, they go 1-5 in the middle part of the year, so they're 5-7 by that time. Then 4-1, there you go. You're 9-8. You know,
Hmm.
there is a 9-8, 10-7 path if you are this like good but not great team at this
Right.
moment. You know, there's 8-9 depending on some of these teams. Like for example, Cleveland's good. Yeah, no, I mean they can win. If Cleveland comes out and they're swinging and Deshaun Watson's back to where he was in Houston, okay, never mind. Bets are off the table. I do lean more Cleveland. Or, injuries, always unpredictable. But 9-8, 10-7, the good part, the good scenario, that is very much here at play if certain items go the right way. That
Right.
is.
Yeah. And in this last part of their schedule, I can see 3 to 4 wins. Um, the only reason why I say three is because, well, if they could lose to Detroit and Cleveland. Like you said, if Cleveland's
Yes.
defense does what it did, if they're healthy, especially that defensive line, if that's clicking like they were last year at points, especially when they played the Bears last year, it was a
Right.
complete like turn the TV off after the first quarter. Like you don't want to watch this no more. That they can lose those first two, but you could see them being Arizona, Atlanta, and Green Bay, and throughout the whole schedule, like you said, I see 6 to 10 wins. The only reason why I say six is because the only reason why I go that low is because it's the Bears. I can't have this high expectation because we've been hurt too many times. But of this schedule and the NFL this year, there's a lot more question marks, I think, than ever before because we're so used to the same rosters, the same quarterbacks, and everything else. So many changes. Tampa Bay doesn't have Tom Brady anymore. Sean
Yep.
Payton's taking over Denver Broncos. What are they going to look like? Minnesota, are they going to be hot or are they not? And we could be sitting here talking about how great Detroit's going to be. Something could happen and they can pull a complete Detroit Lions and not be what we're saying they are, and that could completely utter. I don't think that'll happen. I think they have a great coaching staff, a great head coach where that doesn't happen, but it could. You never know. And then with the Green Bay, like there's just a bunch of question marks this year, especially on the Bear schedule. So I say six. That's probably low because of the roster movements that have been made. You would think, oh yeah, for sure six. You would think for sure they're at the six, but like injuries, how do they progress? So I say six to
Yeah,
ten
yeah, I mean,
somewhere.
yeah, you can always uncertainty. That's every year, you know. I mean, shoot, man. Like I said, I mean, we can talk about and Justin Fields, tough guy, but like, say they run him like he did last year. Again, I don't expect it, but say they run him like last year. You have 12 weeks. You have to wait in to go until your week 13 bye. I don't want him getting banged up, and then you have to
Uh-huh.
lean. And credit PJ Walker, great backup. But do I really want to go into a game and have to worry about my backup like I did last year? No, I don't want to lean on freaking. I don't want to lean on Nathan Peterman or anyone like that to deliver me a
No,
win. You crazy? No,
right.
hell no. So that's all. That's what's it's mysterious, but like there is potential. Like I do buy in. Like a lot of stuff that Poles has done this offseason. Great stuff. They got a lot. Like we talked in our draft episode. They got a lot of it was a utility draft. They got a lot of
Uh-huh.
role players in that draft. There is good. I just don't see a world beating. I don't see a division winner yet. That's what I'm trying to say.
No,
Or I
right.
don't see we're going to be like a third, fourth seed team. I see we sneak in as a 7 and then shoot whatever else is gravy. Yeah, that's the best case scenario to me. We sneak in as like a 7 or 6 seed and then we just have a
Yep.
ball because we're in the playoffs. You know,
Yep. That's what I think too with the schedule that's set up. The biggest thing when I looked at it was all the question marks with all the other teams. If this was a couple years ago, I could sit there and tell you exactly who was going to win and how it was going to go. Now we're sitting here talking about how Detroit could win the conference, like that part of the conference. Like that's where we're sitting. Is that we're not talking about Green Bay winning it no more. We're talking about Detroit. We're
I have to
talking
pinch
about
myself for how much I've said that I have faith that Detroit can win the division.
Well, we have that.
That's
We
what's
have a
weird.
non-Drew Brees Saints team now with Derek Carr, like that type of stuff. It's like it's very weird to look at from all the years of watching it. We have, a Denver Broncos team that looked horrible last year, and how are they going to look? Like, and Minnesota doing what they like. It's just so weird from a couple years ago. But yeah, the Bears are sitting there where we could be middle of the road team, which is still better than last year, and that's still a win, in my opinion. Or it could be you sneak in just like we did a couple years ago with Mitch Trubisky, and you just sneak into the playoff as a wild card. Like you just sneak in
Oh
there,
yeah.
and if you do that, then the following year is just going to hopefully skyrocket. Now if we underperform and we do get to that 5 win, 6 win mark, I don't know if we panic yet because we're still rebuilding, but more pressure I think starts to build after that. Like there's none right now. Right now they're in a spot where there's no pressure because they understand what they're doing. But if they go 3 wins, 4 wins, 5 wins, and they don't perform well, then all of a sudden the the quarterback position has a lot of pressure. You start to look at certain maybe wide receivers have a lot of pressure. That head coach and offense coordinator are going to have some pressure. And then do you draft a rookie quarterback again and you go through that whole process again? Like, so that type of stuff. But if they can get to the playoffs as a wild card, that all that will go away. That won't happen.
Hmm. I think without a doubt that will gladly go away. Find out soon enough though. But I mean, like, it's a reasonable schedule. It doesn't feel like overkill. Which it always seems like that's how it is when you got these teams that have been down and out. And then generally the NFL does kind of skew it a little bit this way, is where they're down and out teams. They've been beaten, battered. Usually, unless you're in a division like say the AFC East,
Mm-hmm.
you generally get a little bit more of the all right, we'll give you a pass this year. Let's get you back on your feet type of
Yep.
deal.
Yep.
And then unless you're a good team, then the good teams are like, all right, let's get you on some good prime time type of
Yeah.
television deal. Because Chicago's definitely this year, it's got some TV spots, but it's a little more of the all right, we'll put you on the side. If you're good, transition to the good slots. NFC
Yeah.
North battles will get the TV. You know what I'm
That's why there's a
saying?
couple. That's why there's a couple TVDs on there, like to be announced on the Bear schedule. I think as you
Mm-hmm.
looked later on, there's a couple not times for those games, so maybe that's
Oh yeah,
why.
they're definitely flex. I think the NFL definitely knows that there is potential. This team could be a good on the border of fighting for playoff rights at the end of the
Well,
year.
and the media loves Justin Fields. Loves
Oh, I mean,
Justin.
yeah, they do because he's an athletic freak. It's just like Lamar Jackson,
Whatever.
athletically gifted, without a
Whatever.
doubt.
Whatever. The media loves LeBron James too, but we won't. We
Oh,
won't.
well, LeBron does control the narrative. I am going to play that beyond that. Okay.
Watch my YouTube shorts. You'll hear my whole rant
So
about
let's
how
just
the
talk. Let's just talk about the Denver Nuggets and the Miami Heat. LeBron already had his week and a half in the sun. We don't need any more time.
is he going to
Just
retire? Oh, he hurt his foot, and he would. Never mind.
damn well he's not retiring. He put it out there. He's playing with his son. He's back. Why are we wasting our time with that? That's all I'm putting it out.
He's got to get ESPN and all them views until
Well,
Pat
you
McAfee.
see, I had a foot injury. Yeah, that's why we got swept. I wasn't playing 100%.
He pulled that before too. First year with the
Yeah, well,
Lakers, he was hurt, and then they started to win. Then he went to 0 dark 30. We're going to get to the playoffs, and he hopped back in, and then they sucked. Then he sat out. Then they came out, and the trainer posted like 2 weeks later, "Oh, he never should have been playing, but he decided to." Shut up.
oh God, oh God,
Well,
oh well.
it's okay. But yeah, I think we're all in agreement. I think all Bears fans are in agreement of middle of the road 8 wins this year. I think everybody is.
It is not a 3-win season. That is
Oh,
that is the best you can take away. You are not going to get another down and out, downtrodden team. If you do, I mean, we'll be all rioting on Twitter and social media about it. But there's no way in hell I can process this being a 3-win squad again. Sorry.
I will be in Arlington Heights with my pitchfork. We go 3 wins.
Yes, let's go to Arlington Heights. That'll wash any good team. Washes away bad problems. Look at the Houston Texans. You got option A, new uniforms. Because no one can complain when you have new uniforms to say and get giddy about with merch. Option B, the team moved to a new fancy arena. That's the LA method. Although that one was don't do the LA method of we didn't mean in good faith to agree with St. Louis. That you don't want to do that.
That's true.
The LA method is we moved to a new stadium and now we'll fix the problems because you're distracted by the new shiny object.
Yeah. Look over here while we do this over here.
Yes.
Over here. Dangle this
Pretty
over
SoFi
here.
Stadium. Look at the little pond in front of the big overhanging archway.
Look at Dwayne Johnson coming in. Dwayne Johnson's coming in to talk. Just look at that over there. Don't worry about what's happening.
All your favorite celebrities are here. Yeah. Although in Chicago they'd be like, is that Kanye West?
Oh Jesus Christ. Is that Kanye West? Oh
dude. Is that Kanye?
Is that R. Kelly?
Oh, is that R. Kelly? No. No. I'm sorry.
Chief's gonna kick me off now.
I gotta stop.
Anything else I missed from that? I don't think I did.
Oh, that was another one. You got Chance the Rapper.
Oh, goodness.
That's a better one to end with Chicago. Okay, no, that's it. I think we're good. It's exactly what I expect. A middle of the road possible playoff year. Anything below middle of the road, and we can all go and sing Kumbaya in front of our merch fire. I'm kidding. I won't throw away my merch, but I will be angry and post tweets like an angry Bears fan that I am.
I will be very angry. Now
rage! I'm going to use my 140 plus characters.
Where's R. Kelly from?
I thought he was from Chicago.
See, I knew that was funny. I knew that.
Yeah, I was going to say, you were right. That's why I said Chance, because Chance is also Chicago. So.
Okay, I just want to make sure I was right. I just said R. Kelly because it was the first one that popped up.
If I said Eminem, people are like, you idiot. You're rooting for Detroit. Like, yeah, I guess you're right.
Maybe Rob Blagojevich will pop in.
Rob Blagojevich. Ew. Okay, I'm out. That's my cue to exit stage left.
Or Lori Lightfoot will pop in.
No. I don't need her being my sleep paralysis demon.
All right, well, I think that'll wrap up another Bear Down as we start to spiral out of control with our Chicago fandom.
We have lost it.
Will be at Arlington.
The show has lost it. It is off the tracks.
I was gonna start looking up serial killers from Chicago. That was the next spot.
Nope. Now it's hit the small town and it's in a small village. The train has destroyed many buildings now. The show's got to end. Stop it. Stop the show.
All right. Well, Zach, thanks for coming back for Bear Down. We'll be back when we get more updates from Bears as they start camps and they start reports, and we will be back to talk about all that stuff as we inch closer to the season, as we start getting into the summer. Check out Zach's other podcasts, USFL podcast, Inside the Walls podcasts, all that good stuff. What was the other one? I forgot. Or did I say them all?
Oh, Inside the Walls, USFL podcast. That's the main ones. And then here. Okay. That's the third. You say 4th and 4. I mean, that was the other one, which should be starting up, later this summer.
Yes.
Football, your pregame fix. So it's going to happen.
Yep. So check all that out. So Zach, thanks for being here. Thanks everybody for watching or listening, and we will see you guys on the next one.